Alright guys, running it back with another replay here. I've got Khorne versus Nurgle. Love me some Khorne action. One of my favorite factions. Hands down, I think almost all of the games that I've actually posted are Khorne-centric in some regard, either my opponent or me. This is a matchup that I really like, honestly. Playing as Nurgle against Khorne and as Khorne against Nurgle. I think that this is actually a much more even matchup, I think, than people are giving it credit for. Obviously, Khorne has a lot of advantages here, but Nurgle does have really good blob fight tools and some really effective debuffing units, you know, like the Beast of Nurgle, but debuffs speed and melee attack, and it's not a ton for either. Every little bit helps, though, and, you know, he brought his exalted Great Unclean One here, and 2 Plague Bearers, 2 Cultists, I believe both of them were on foot, Plague Toads, and 1 unit of Nurglings. Now, I brought something that I don't normally bring in this matchup. I really actually like bringing Scarbrand for the most part, but I wanted to do some experimentation here with bringing a Khorne Herald, 2 Cultists, a Skullcannon, and 2 exalted Bloodletters. Just to see how these guys did in this matchup. I didn't know what it would look like, so I was very curious. And you can see in my reserves I bring Blood Crushers, who are world beaters against Nurgle, man. Bonus versus infantry, that's pretty hefty. 18, I mean, Jesus. They're gonna stomp through everything that Nurgle's got. I mean, Nurglings are gonna die in a heartbeat to those bastards. Plague Bearers, same deal. They're gonna be a little more tanky because they do have Cloud of Flies, which gives them a really good buff to their melee defense. But taking the charge head on, they're not gonna have that, and they're gonna get knocked through pretty hard. He brought he brought a regular Great Unclean One in his reserves. Good tanky unit. I think he brought this just in case I brought Scarbrand or something. That way he would have a fighting chance with the 2 Cultists and the Exalted and another just regular Great Unclean One. That's a losing fight for Khorne, believe it or not, because these guys are excellent combatants. And the healing, even if it is debuffed by the flaming damage, is still worth it. It is still good. You know, Fleshy Abundance is just 0.8 per second with flaming damage on these guys, but that's still a decent amount of health that you're regaining. Fleshy Abundance is just incredible overall. Fantastic spell. For the rest, and you know, you'll see how that plays out over the course of the battle, because this was a really good game. For the rest of my army, I brought Spawn, Blood Shrine, dual weapon warrior, because these guys are not amazing with the lack of magic attacks against demon units, but against Nurglings, they are very effective. You know, they can get in there and they can just grind for days against them, and kill them quickly enough that these guys can't. You have to bring multiple units in, you know, and that is a constant drain on Nurgle's supply. Chaos Warrior Halberds, just for, you know, I knew he was going to bring something big. It's almost inevitable against Nurgle. Flesh Hounds coming in here, 4 units of them. Too good of battlefield control to pass up, honestly. You know, while these guys might be sitting on one objective, you can have your Flesh Hounds running around to the other one, cleaning up any spare Nurgling units running around the battlefield. They can get in on Plague Bearers pretty good. They're just going to be there to ping pong and force my opponent to bring in some of his own mobility. Got 3 units of Furies. These guys buffer well for the Flesh Hounds. All of Khorne's army plays very well together, which is something that I really just absolutely adore about this faction here. But anyways, I'm gonna jump into the battle. I've been talking way too damn long. I just get, man, this game is just exciting as hell, dude. I love it. I love the new Domination mode. I think it's everything that I could have asked for from CA and revamping the multiplayer. I do think there's a few things they could change, but it's really not that important, honestly. If it stays the way it is, it's still the best multiplayer mode in a Total War game ever, in my opinion. Gonna move up with the Skullcannon here. I love this thing, man. I don't bring it often, but I think against Nurgle specifically, this is a matchup where it is a fantastic unit because it gets free value and ammo against Nurglings and free healing against Nurglings, man. Just if this thing is getting beat up, just send it to a corner to chew through some crappy Khorne units, or Nurgle units, I should say. Ugh, LOL. Posturing up with my lords, and the Skullcannon's going to be sitting here. I'm going to start poking in on this exalted Great Unclean One, applying the flaming damage from range, you know. And that's kind of what this is here for. It's so that if he pulls this guy out of combat, I can still have the flaming damage to apply to him, so he can't get the extra healing from Fleshy Abundance, because do everything in your power to deny Nurgle any amount of healing that they can get, because Fleshy Abundance is good enough that it doesn't matter. It's still going to get good value, but any extra amount that you can deny is important. Got my Goon Squad going in on him. But my opponent's buffering with the Plague Toads really well. And you can see he got a good karate chop in on my Cultist. With the Locus of Wrath, they're going to do good work. They have ridiculous stats right now. I mean, 71 attack. And my Herald with 73. They're getting good work in on this guy, and he's already had to use a Fleshy Abundance on himself. And with the flaming applied to him, of course, you know, not ideal, not getting quite as much value as he could be. Here we go. My Bloodletter summons have been intercepting these Plague Bearers, and now my exalted Bloodletters are in here, in the pits, fighting. My opponent has got to do something about them, and he does. He brings his exalted Great Unclean One over here. The Mortis Engine effect is going to tear these guys apart, and it was something I should have thought about before this battle, but just did not spring to mind when I was thinking of the matchup. So maybe these guys aren't quite as good in this matchup as they are in a lot of others. I brag on them all the time, man, I swear. But in this occasion, maybe not quite as good as they could be, because there's so many swarming elements that they actually can get swamped. My opponent's running away here, really doing his absolute best to get away with this guy. He needs his lord. He needs the healing. That is one of the most important things to this army. And, but here you can see he's just too trapped, and he can't escape from this Herald or the two cultists. He's getting really low now. Over here on this side, got a cultist and some Nurglings had intercepted my Flash Hounds, who I had sent down here to start taking this objective. You can see the big pit fight still going my way. The Bloodletters, they're doing good work, man. They're pretty healthy still. And they're going to be piling in here, just doing everything I can to chew through the rest of this army. But you can see my character Goon Squad is really actually in a very bad spot now. This guy got a huge heal on himself. I couldn't stop him from getting the most out of it. And without these guys, I am going to die to this Great Unclean One, because it's Mortis Engine is going to wreck my Bloodletters here. I mean, you can see my Skullcannon, it's out of ammo, and it's just sitting here. I decide, here you go, jump in on these Nurglings, get value out of it. Fleshhounds cap this objective. I've got another unit capping this objective. I'm fine with the grind fight. It's not ideal, but I am getting good work on his army, and I'm taking 2 objectives, so it's fine. You can't let Nurgle get set up on 2 objectives, or you're going to lose. I bring in the Blood Shrine, because he does have, I thought he had a lot more infantry than he really had. Because I believe one of these, no, they both are actual Plague Bearers. I think he did have another summons, I figured that these chariots would be able to do good work and provide decent buffs to my army here. So as you can see, exalted bloodletters still fighting, still trying, but they're getting really worked down now, man, and they've gotten a lot of kills and they've gotten their value, but this one hasn't quite. This one shined. Kind of a wash on value there for them, which isn't a good sign against Nurgle, which can just heal through everything. You have got to get an obscene amount of value to go toe-to-toe with Nurgle. He pulls his Lord out of position, and I use the Furies to block up his infantry and try and keep this guy separated, but again, he's so big, he just wanders through the front lines just so easily. You can see my character's very weak, very weak. I'm trying to reunite this cultist, but he gets swarmed by Nurglings, stopped up, can't quite, so I decided to pull him out and try and pull him over to this objective. In the process, Furies are getting on top of him, just trying to juke back and forth to get him away. And I pull everything back. All of his stuff was getting in, and I wasn't able to get the isolation I needed on this guy. He commits his Furies over here into blob on top of my Herald and my cultist, which isn't actually all that good for him. I kind of foolishly charge in with the Furies and the Fleshhounds on these Nurglings, but I was figuring I just needed to put pressure on this objective. And you can see here the Skullcannon's got a little bit of ammo. It ground through that one unit of Nurglings and was doing good work against his other cultist, who's around here somewhere maybe. I don't know where he's at. He might have actually died. But it's going to come in here and it's going to start drifting through all these infantry. You can see there is some poke damage going in on this guy. Not a ton, but doing every little bit helps. And here we go. I bring in my Blood Crushers to peel off these Furies, because these guys destroy small targets. And you can see, man, they're just ping-ponging these poor Nurglings all across the battlefield. Look at this. Just dumpstering them, killing all the Furies that were left over here, and forcing them to pull back with them. And I ping-ponged and got good damage on those guys, so I'm going to pull them into this big blob fight and kill these Plague Bearers and the Nurglings that are here, and put my opponent in a bad position. This Beast of Nurgle is debuffing everything, sure, but with his Exalted being so low, you know, it's not going to be, it's pretty much at its healing cap now. You can see just how powerful this healing ability is, man. Got good burst in there for him. There you go. Herald's real low, but man, oh man, he still packs a punch one way or the other. And with that Locus of Wrath ability that he's got, and Revel and Slaughter, which gives melee attack and leadership, you know, he provides massive buffs to the army, so you can just stack buffs on buffs on buffs as Khorne with a Herald, man. And there's nothing that's going to beat you. And this is theoretically what Nurgle wants in this matchup, is a big blob fight. But with all of the buffs, I'm countering his debuffs pretty well, and I'm able to do good damage to all of his units. I'm trying to keep this guy alive because I want him to be able to just jump in and provide the buffs into these blobs and then pull him out. I do decide to jump in here and try and kill this Beast of Nurgle just to get it off the field, because it does provide decent capture weight and better than the units I've got here. And with the Plague Toads, you know, he's got a nice bit of meat. I don't want him to give him the opportunity to get in here and have these debuffs affecting my entire army for this fight here. Just don't want to give him anything for free, and I figured I had a good chance of killing this thing without it knocking out my Lord, which is played out very much in my favor. This thing is pretty much dead now. You can see the power that the fire damage does, because this thing does have regeneration effects, but doesn't help it at all here. And you can see I got Fleshhounds. Side charge on Plague Toads, you just die instantly to these Fleshhounds, man. They hate this matchup. Plague Toads are good against Bloodletters, but not much else on the Khorne roster. You can see they just flop over dead there. You can see the Nurglings fighting in the pits here. Love these little guys. Great meat shield unit. I think that's actually why you don't bring Plague Bearers ever. Just bring exalted Plague Bearers and Nurglings. Plague Bearers are very tanky, but they're just not worth it at the end of the day. You can see my opponent jumping in. He's still got this objective. He's jumping in with the Furies, picking at this poor cultist who is surrounded and being chewed apart. My Herald's stuck in on a Plague Bearer summon. I didn't get a chance to pull him back through my army like I wanted. And I've actually lost this objective. He sent a unit of Plague Bearers up here, and I summoned in 2 Furies just to chew through him. You can see how effective that is. With that 44 melee attack, they do get through the 41 melee defense pretty well against the enemy. But my opponent is really fighting his way back into this game. You know, he's got the middle, captured this objective, and now he's working on this one over here. I am also losing this fight just because he's got so much stuff here. You can see my Blood Shrine is trapped up by the Plague Toads and the Cultists, and getting worked down. Not good for me. This Skullcannon too, I thought it would be able to fight these Furies, but there's just too much there. It goes down too, so I jump out of that blob fight finally. I held this point for a little bit and did good work against his army, forced all of these slow units into the middle there, and I've got my Blood Crushers resecuring this objective. You know, these Nurglings aren't all the way on this objective, and you can see I just barely managed to keep him from taking it. These Furies can come over here and fight this, but they're actually going to lose pretty hard in this situation. He should have pulled his Rotflies over here, honestly, but I think he wanted to use them to try and maintain control of this objective, because I've resummoned the more experienced of the exalted Bloodletters in. You can see the kills that they got already. I mean, 202, ridiculous. Bring in Spawn and these guys, so they're going to do good work over here. Take the Furies and keep his Nurglings away. They would do good damage against the Rotflies, but I wanted to keep the buffering out of the fight. And, you know, the Bloodletters and the, especially since they actually have, I think they've got, do they not have Hellblade active when they come back in? They do. They're just getting the poison effect. But, you know, it's still really valuable because it actually, you know, keeps their weapon damage pretty high. With the buffs, the Horn of Khorne going down, I've got that so many times over the course of this game, providing good work. Silver chevrons on these guys, oh my goodness, they're just so powerful. You know, and maybe 1 unit is the best thing to bring. Bringing 2 is just too elite against Nurgle and Mortis Engine effect. Bad play on my part. Has really hurt me. Good grief, man. This objective again, getting capped by the Plague Toads, so I'm committing more just to kill them quicker, because I can't lose this objective. Finally, here we go. Retaking this objective, you know, and look how close it is. It's ridiculous. Fantastic game. He's bringing in so many Nurglings. He's trying to swarm on this objective, but my Spawn and my Fleshhounds are not letting that happen. You know, if he had split these guys up a little bit, you know, I would have had to split my 2 units there. And I'm using the Bloodletters here just to clear off the Rotflies off the back of these Spawn and Fleshhounds. Like I said, the Rotflies, he should have flip-flopped. He should have sent all the Furies and other stuff that he was committing elsewhere on the field over here to be the buffer, while he had more units going over here. The Rotflies would have been better off killing my Blood Crushers, who are still over here, man. You know, they've not gotten their value, but they've provided a good meat shield and been peeling off units of this objective, forcing him to commit more and more stuff over here. And I've got Furies swarming his. They're going to tear through that, and they can actually beat the Cultists. Maybe not both of them, but 2 units of Furies on 1 Cultist are going to shred him. Here in the middle, I've got Fleshhounds and Furies fighting in concert to kill these Nurglings and some other units that were over here, and I'm going to try and take that objective away just for the BM, I guess. I mean, not really. I had much respect for my opponent this game. He played this game really, really well. He did a great job of keeping his exalted Unclean One alive to provide value over the course of that game when I tried so hard to goon him. I was able to eventually, but it was just long enough that he was able to work through my front line and take this objective. And, I mean, you can see just how hard it is to move through Nurgle once he's gotten objectives, which is why I was fighting so close to his spawn. I was willing to sacrifice a little bit of value to keep him off because I figured that one way or the other, Nurgle's gonna be trading effectively with all the heals. I was just able to hold enough objectives from him to win that game. So we'll go take a look at some values now. You know, get a gander at what was going on. So, as I said, these guys didn't pay for themselves. Bringing 1 in and probably using them to hold a side objective might actually be the most valuable thing you can do with these guys, just to kill Nurglings and other stuff, because they'll take poke damage, sure, but getting that Hellblade ability active, they're going to be a menace to deal with. You're going to have to commit Plague Toads and some Furies probably in addition to deal with that. And with a unit of Nurglings, Plague Toads, and Furies, you're spending, you know, about 15, 1,600 gold, I think. I'm not going to do the math off the top of my head. I think it's 1,600. It's a lot of value to be sending to fight a unit that's going to trade very well against all of that, you know. Really, you want to get engagements where you're going to wash your opponent's unit, you know. You want to collapse effectively on top of them. But anyways, you know, bring 1 side objective holder, I think. And then, you know, bring in some regular bloodletters, probably be good. Khorne warriors, because they hold pretty decently. Infantry just probably, honestly, aren't the best thing to bring against Nurgle in general, but, you know, you need to bring something. I didn't bring a ton of infantry. I kind of went heavy on single entities, obviously, who all did fantastically, by the way. I mean, you can see 2,200 on the Khorne Herald, not to mention all of the power he was giving with all the buffs while he was there. The cultists hung around for a good long while, 2,000 on this guy and 1,000 on this guy, a lot of it beating up on the Great Unclean One, who got worked through, but look at that, 3,500 value. These guys are just an easy pay for themselves. Skullcannon, 1,400. Blood Crusher's only 1,000, but like I said, did a good job of peeling for that back objective. 700 on these guys. They were only there for a little while. Good value. Killed those rot flies, you know, and that's really what was tearing these guys apart. These guys applying magical damage through their physical resist, I believe they've got physical resist, really was hurting them. And then the spawn just have such crazy weapon strength that they don't care about the physical resist at all, and these guys don't have great armor, so it was just a really cost inefficient trade there for my opponent. Only 600 value on the Blood Shrine. It was a little redundant, quite honestly, with the Skullcannon here. I just probably should bring some more wide elements to my army to match how wide Nurgle can go. Because I did suffer a little bit in that category with just how few infantry units I had, and summoning in all these single entities made it a little bit harder than it should have, probably. That's just probably the most effective way to play this. But I was looking to try some new stuff, test units, and have a little bit of fun. And I think that Skullcannon is actually a good choice in this matchup. I think it might be a regular entrant into this scenario for me against Nurgle. Still probably would bring... if I'm going to bring the Herald, Skullcannon auto-include. If you're bringing in Scarbrand or an exalted Bloodthirster, I mean, you really should bring the cultists at all times, playing as any of the demon factions. Cultists are so strong. The only cultists who you probably don't really need to bring is the Tzeentch ones, just because, you know, Tzeentch does other things way better. Anyways, that's going to be the end for this one. You know, thanks for watching if you're here. I really appreciate it.